been a number who've done this, but I think my current hero is a person who's been working in the eradication of manual scavenging. Many people in the world won't even know what manual scavenging is, so I'm going to briefly explain what that is. We have a system of dry toilets, dry latrines, which means that it's not, you don't use water, and somebody's got to come and clean the stuff. And they've got to clean it, and they take it in buckets or baskets, and they've got to carry human excreta away from these toilets. It's the most demeaning work that you can think of. In the Indian context, it's the kind of thing that directly leads to untouchability, practices of untouchability. And whole communities have been trained to believe, have been brought up to believe that it's their business to be engaged in this work. So it's been, I'm talking about a person called Bezawada Wilson, who himself comes from within the community, but recognized very early in his life that this was simply not tolerable, period. And it's been an incredible, I've been watching it now for about 10 years. And in this 10 years, they've worked a movement out of the problem, out of the issue, and from within the community. They've had to get, they've all worked together, but with Wilson spearheading it, for getting people to say that, no, we are not doing this work anymore. And, if you get there, you'll see how difficult that is. And this is the 10th, in 2010 is the year they say, the tolerance of, this is not an, unlike many other issues, it's not something that they want to keep going till infinity. It's not a project, it's not a program, it's not an NGO, they're not registered, it's nothing. They call themselves the Safai Karamchari Andolan, and they work within that. And the thing is that it's over, it's finished. This is meant to be finite, we are not going to continue with this practice, eradication, period, full stop. So, recently they had what they call a bus yatra, which means that from 5 different parts of India, they kind of gathered people who quit the movement, quit the profession, it's not a profession, quit the occupation, and forced the system to change, because they've had to demolish those dry latrines and replace them with flush latrines, because you simply don't have people to clean that anymore, and nobody from any other community will ever go and do that work. It's that kind of demeaning. And they've done, they've worked at it where it's incredible the stories that you hear, and it's really an object lesson to learn, because it's been completely democratic. It's been by mobilization and by conviction. It's not depended upon, it's asking for reparation, but it's not dependent on reparation to get out of it. And it's taking responsibility for ending discrimination from within themselves, and involving people like us who are complete outsiders to this, and making us see what it means, and helping us participate in it. It's been an incredible movement. If I can just think of the question differently. Actually, this is a case where you had the constitution which said that untouchability was abolished. That was in 1950. In 1993-94, you had a law that was passed which said that this practice is illegal, and you can't have dry latrines anymore, you've got to break them down, and you can't have manual scavenging anymore because it's a practice that has to end. But they had to fight, and they've been fighting till 2010 to actually have this happen. So the seriousness, the translation of an issue into a law, and the seriousness about implementation of the law, they are obviously not, the idea that a state can make a law and not be serious about it, especially when it comes to the rights of people who are constitutionally protected, tells us something about the rule of law, and tells us something about state impunity and state irresponsibility. The fact that you have people like this who moved and done, taken that law and used it and learned how to give life to that law, tells us about the potential of communities. But it also tells us that, there is a doctrine of desuetude in law, which is basically the doctrine of disuse. If you don't use a law long enough, then it just falls into disuse and it's no longer a relevant law in a sense. Many laws which are human rights friendly, because there isn't anyone to push the law into life actually falls into disuse. And I think both governments and human rights defenders need to recognize this and act to make sure that this doesn't happen. Because there's a seriousness about basic things in human life.